This week, we take a look at why the Student Learning Center received a failing grade when it comes to accessibility. Ryerson women's volleyball player Lauren Veltman is named Athlete of the Week. And you may have noticed new TTC ads have a clever way of promoting the hit series Stranger Things. Hi, and welcome to RyersonianTV for November 3rd. I'm Kate Skelly, and this is Ryersonian This Week. Ryerson's Trans Awareness Month began on Monday. In the past, Trans Day of Remembrance was recognized through a small ceremony, but this year, events will span throughout the entire month. Lori Stewart, the co-chair of Positive Space at Ryerson, said trans community members continue to experience harassment, discrimination, and systemic barriers on campus. This month's events aim to create a safe, welcoming, and inclusive environment. The transgender pride flag was raised at Monday's ceremony and will remain raised throughout the month of November. 11 crime-related incidents were reported in the Church Yonge corridor over the course of a week in October. Ward 27 Councillor Kristen Wong-Tam is advising Ryerson students to be on alert. She says students need to make sure that they watch where they're going and pay attention to what's happening around them. In response to the uptick in violent incidents, 51 Division is stationing 4 neighborhood officers in the Church-Wellesley area. Ryerson is the second most expensive university in Canada for students who move away from home, according to the Maclean's 2018 university rankings. Students in Canada who leave home for university spend an average of over $19,000 a year on tuition, food, and rent. Here at Ryerson, the average is about $4,000 more. Many students who avoid spending money on rent by living at home are stuck with high commuting costs. Ryerson ranks 6th for most expensive school for students who don't move away from home. Ontario college students rallied in front of Queen's Park on Wednesday to air their frustrations about the ongoing strike. Their message? Get back to the classroom. Sophie Armstrong attended the rally, and here's what she found.
College students from across Ontario came out to the Students First rally. They asked both sides of the ongoing labour dispute to go back to the bargaining table. Faculty and staff from Ontario's 24 colleges have been on strike for the past 3 weeks. Students worry they could lose both their semester and tuition.
I'm really concerned that they're going to extend the semester into the winter break, and I know a lot of us like our winter break, so we don't really want that to happen. And a lot of us are also afraid that we might lose our year, and they might extend it into summer.
The Students First rally took place amidst ongoing protests from the OPSEU. Some college faculty came out to support students. Faculty are worried about the impact the strike has had on their studies.
I think the first years are really vulnerable because they've made a more tenuous commitment to the college, but equally worrying are the graduating class who are applying to grad school, and it's stopping. They have to have their applications in November 15th, and there's no faculty there to counsel them and write them letters of support. So I wanted to lend my voice to the students to let them know that we always have felt students are first.
Tala Mutadi is an international student from Jordan. Her studies at Niagara College stopped abruptly just 5 weeks into her first semester.
Staying at home doing nothing, wasting my year, and paying all that tuition for nothing, just so frustrating.
OPSEU members held their most recent rally at Queen's Park on Thursday. Striking faculty want their demands met quickly so that they can return back to the classroom.
Bargaining between the two sides began yesterday, and students hope to be back in class next week. For RyersonianTV, I'm Sophie Armstrong.
Ryerson's Student Learning Center has been graded for its accessibility, and it isn't pretty. What went wrong with the 3-year-old building? Julie Doe has the story.
The verdict is in from the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act Alliance on Ryerson's state-of-the-art Student Learning Center. It gets an A for aesthetics, but an F for accessibility. In a 12-minute video released on Sunday, it said the SLC failed to meet adequate standards for those with visual impairments or with physical disabilities. The reports say that jagged ramps and stairs, misplaced poles, and slow elevators are amongst the inaccessibility issues. For Ryerson student Matt Vocino, who uses a motorized wheelchair, sometimes going to the SLC is too challenging. His problem, he says, are the elevators.
During midterm season, I try to avoid it as much as possible because it's always packed, and I'll just know the elevators will at full capacity. I've missed exams before because there's just not enough elevators, and it's taken me 45 minutes to get down from the beach floor to the main floor.
Ali Manji, a Ryerson student, often has to take the stairs from the 1st to the 8th floor due to the slow elevators. But it's even worse now since he's injured his foot playing basketball. The experience has made him realize how inaccessible some parts of the building can be, such as the SLC's crowded beach floor.
I think that'd be really difficult, especially with all the especially on this floor, with a lot of feet sticking out and everything like that, and people are sleeping or something, then they wouldn't be able to move for that person. It could be really dangerous, and it could be also very annoying for them if there's not that much space and things like that.
The AODA is giving Ryerson and the rest of Ontario until 2025 to turn these problems around. Despite receiving the failing grade, SLC building officer Susan Machado believes that Ryerson and its staff are doing their best to be as inclusive as possible.
So we have also improved our training for our staff, for students and full-time staff on accessibility in the building. So the staff roam through the building and they're constantly looking at ways to ensure that paths are clear, if a student needs assistance to get on an elevator, that they're there to help them.
Ryerson is one of several public institutions to be given a failing grade by the AODA, part of an effort to increase awareness on a promise that the Ontario government made 19 years ago. With just 7 years left until deadline, the province will have its hands full leading Ontario to full accessibility. Reporting for RyersonianTV, this is Julie Doe.
Some people use electronic cigarettes to quit smoking, but a new study suggests that they may actually be a gateway to tobacco cigarettes. Natasha Herman has more.
The Canadian Medical Association Journal released a study this week after reviewing over 44,000 high school students who are active e-cigarette smokers. The study showed that after a year, these students were more likely to start smoking tobacco cigarettes. David Zakus, who's a professor of distinction in global health at Ryerson University, believes it's not just high school students who are affected.
Human brain doesn't stop actually changing and growing until the age of 21. So that is almost like an undergraduate, graduate at that age. And so it's not just high school students, it's undergraduate university students and college students that should be concerned.
Zakas thinks e-cigarettes should only be used to combat tobacco addiction.
I believe that introducing any foreign substances into your body, and particularly into the lungs, is potentially harmful. So I would never recommend anybody smoking e-cigarettes unless they're using them as a systematic attempt at trying to stop smoking regular tobacco cigarettes.
Jules Angelas, Vape 29 shop manager, believes vaping is a great way to break the habit of smoking tobacco cigarettes.
So, as many of you guys know, there are a lot of stuff in cigarettes. Yeah, with vape juice, like with this, I am vaping a grape butter toast. So this is literally made out of vegetable glycerin, propylene glycol.
In 2016, a new law in Ontario made it illegal for anyone under 19 to buy the product. E-cigarettes containing nicotine can only be bought online or in specific vape stores. But new media student at Ryerson, Jeffrey Dang, says he isn't often ID'd when he purchases e-cigarettes with nicotine.
Most vape shops don't ID, so it's not hard for you to get it at a younger age.
Bill S5, which is under review by the House of Commons, is planning to regulate sales to minors and limit attractive advertisement. For RyersonianTV, I'm Natasha Herman.
There's been a lot of talk around pedestrian safety since Monday morning. A newly proposed bill could have people paying if they're caught on an electronic device while crossing the street. Isabella Perrone has that story.
The Heads Up, Phones Down Act was proposed by MPP Ivan Baker on Monday morning at Queen's Park. It would target pedestrians who use electronics at intersections. First offenders would face a $25 fine, and on the third offense would have to pay $125. Distracted walkers are common in Toronto and on Ryerson campus.
Well, I think it's a pretty good idea since I text a lot when I'm walking, and I've almost been hit by like 5 different cars. So I think it's a good idea, but I would not want to get fined that much for just texting.
Despite the fines, some students think the bill is a good way to keep pedestrians safe.
I think it makes sense seeing how, all of us are always on our phones. The streets are really busy. We get distracted. So obviously it's sort of a deterrent to stop any accidents that could potentially happen from distracted pedestrians on their cell phones.
Dr. Anver Saluji believes the bill is more than just a new law.
I think it's about a public education campaign. If and when the bill passes, I think it's the responsibility of government to engage in a citywide campaign.
If the bill passes, each municipality in Toronto will be able to choose if they want to opt out of it. The bill goes to debate in March. Whether or not it passes, it has already started conversations about the dangers of distracted walking. For the Ryersonian, I'm Isabella Perrone.
The highly anticipated iPhone X releases today, and it comes with an expensive price tag. But the line is still out the door of the Apple Store at Eaton Centre. Julie Doe is there live. Julie, tell us what you see.
I'm here at the Apple Store right now in the Eaton Centre, and as you can see behind me, it's crazy packed right now. We've got lineups here, and inside the Apple Store is just unimaginably barely empty. People are everywhere right now, just excited to get their hands on.
A little hard to hear there, but Julie, looks like a lot of people. Thank you for that. If you've ever taken the TTC, then you know how crowded it can be. Rider counts conducted in the spring and fall this year by the TTC reveal exceeding crowd standards on 50 buses and streetcar routes due to a lack of vehicles. The TTC's contract with Bombardier initially called for 145 streetcars to be in service by now, yet only 48 are on the road. Ryerson students who use the bus during rush hour must make necessary adjustments to their schedules.
I try to avoid those times as much as possible, which kind of ends up interfering with my school life as well because I'll have to stay behind just to avoid that particular commuting traffic.
Overcrowding that exceeds standard doesn't necessarily mean a packed vehicle. According to TTC Senior Communications Specialist Stuart Green, having one person standing on a vehicle could also be considered crowding by their standard. However, he acknowledges that the TTC can work towards bringing relief to commuters.
Arrive within the next 2 to 3 years. I think within that time, our customers will see a real significant improvement to the way our vehicles, the reliability of our vehicles, and the reliability of our service.
The TTC is expected to receive 204 new streetcars by the end of 2019. This week, Ryerson's Sikh Association gathered to honor victims of India's 1984 Sikh genocide. It's a story not many know about. Amani Walker has the story.
For many students on campus, the week of October 31st is spent celebrating Halloween in the new fall season. For Ryerson's Sikh Students Association, the first week of November reminds them of the year 1984. The 1984 Sikh genocide took place in India. On October 31st of that year, 2 Sikh bodyguards assassinated Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. This resulted in retaliation in what the anti-Sikh government at the time called blood for blood. The Indian Army stormed the Golden Temple, Sikhs' holiest shrine, and encouraged civilians to murder all Sikhs.
In 1984, it was a targeted event towards the Sikh community, and it was pre-planned.
Essentially, the Indian government was targeting anyone who identified as Sikhs and killing them, plain and simple. Starting from the attack on the Golden Temple.
You have the Indian government come and attack one of the holiest places for people of the Sikh faith. So you can imagine if Rome, or the Vatican was attacked by the Italian army, that'd be something that would be unacceptable by the entire Catholic population all over the world.
And although the horrific events took place in 1984, many survivors and their families still face the trauma of the genocide.
That happened in 1984, and my mom, like, until this day, like, when it comes to it, she's still like a bit scarred.
My dad was actually there at the Golden Temple. He was 16 years old when the attack happened. So he was there, he saw everything happen, and he was one of the very few who actually was able to escape out of that and came as a refugee to Canada at the age of 16.
Personally, it's affected, in different ways in my family. I think a lot of people of the Sikh faith, you see a huge population within Ontario, within Canada, and the major reason is because it was the aftermath of 1984. So if that had not happened, I wouldn't be here. And it seems like a positive thing, but I don't see that the people that had died for it, it doesn't equal to that.
Sikhs were murdered at a rate of 1 person per minute, yet the Indian government refuses to call the violence a genocide. They refer to it as a riot. Canadian MPPs pushed forward a motion to recognize the anti-Sikh massacre as a genocide. The motion passed in April of 2017.
When you have the government initiating violence and specifically targeting a community, that's when we identify it as a genocide by, even UN declarations. We look at the definition there.
We got a lot of support, and I think one of the biggest key figures for this was Jagmeet Singh, and India's response was to ban him from coming to India, which is kind of weird because as they claimed that they didn't do anything, if they really didn't do anything, then why are they scared of him to come to India? Why are they banning him?
The overall goal of the Sikh Students Association at Ryerson is to educate and bring together communities.
We want this time to commemorate those people that have lost their lives, and once we sort of recognize its existence, because a lot of people deny it even happened, then we can sort of go on the page of reconciliation and being in a sense where we don't want this to happen to anyone else, regardless of whatever their race, gender, or religion.
The group has hosted several events in collaboration with U of T and OCAD this week. They plan to continue educating people in and around the campus about the 1984 Sikh genocide. For RyersonianTV, I'm Imani Walker.
And for sports this week, York University will play host this weekend to the Final Four men's soccer teams looking to compete for the OUA title. Among the 4 teams competing are our very own Rams. The team has continued to remain competitive this season despite having to forfeit their first 6 games. Ryerson is scheduled to take on York in the semifinals today at 3 p.m. The Rams women's hockey team took on the Brock Badgers for the first time this season this morning and won with a score of 2-1. Ryerson will be playing in tomorrow's matchup against the visiting Western Mustangs. Puck drop is at 7:15 p.m. Ryerson men's basketball team is on the road again this weekend, playing back-to-back games. The Rams recorded their first win last Friday when the team kicked off their season against Algoma. Tonight, the team will face off against the Windsor Lancers, and on Saturday, they take on the Western Mustangs. Women's volleyball serves up another win this season. Tawana Hyman had the chance to speak with Ryerson's Athlete of the Week, Lauren Veltman, from the women's volleyball team. Take a look.
Second-year Ryerson student Lauren Veltman found out she was Female Athlete of the Week through someone else.
So I was on a field trip with my program, and a girl that I was there with came across it on Instagram, and she was just said congratulations, and I didn't know what for.
The sophomore made an impression, showing that she could play from an outside and middle position during the first 2 games of the season. Head coach Justin Reed talks about Veltman's new responsibilities.
This year she's been taking on some newer responsibilities and learning a little bit about a new position, which has a sort of a different skill set to it. Been working hard, always comes to the gym I would say, prepared to work and prepared to have fun, and kind of helps us set the type of tone that we want to have. And she played great last weekend.
People are relying on me now that I've changed positions, so I'm really hoping that I can show them that I'm not going to let them down.
Against McMaster and Lakehead, she had a total of 18 kills, 3 blocks, and 19 digs. Veltman says the team is focused on the season ahead and what Rams can achieve.
I think we want to play everyone to the best of our abilities. We don't think differently when we walk into a gym depending on the standings of the team or how they did the weekend before. And we don't look about what we did the weekend before. We keep our eyes ahead and we figure out what we need to do, and then we'll get it done.
We had a good first week in our regular season games, so We want to keep getting better. We want to challenge the best teams in our conference, and we want to be recognized as one of the best teams in the country.
The Rams will face Trent University this Sunday in Peterborough at 3 p.m. They're hoping for their third win this season. I'm Tawana Hyman for the Ryersonian.
Toronto soccer fans have a lot to celebrate. This week, Toronto FC beat the New York Red Bulls in their first semi-final matchup. Brenda Molina-Navidad has the play-by-play.
For the second straight season, TFC is looking promising in the playoffs. Against the Red Bulls, midfielder Victor Vasquez scored the first goal in the 8th minute.
First in the Eastern Conference semi-final.
But before the first half, New York tied the game with a penalty. Italian striker Sebastian Giovinco had the last say with a goal in the 72nd minute, final score 2-1. Now, TFC fans at Ryerson reacted to Toronto's great season so far.
I always love the sport of soccer, so living in Toronto, I've always also enjoyed watching Toronto FC. And it is really exciting that they are doing quite well this season.
In June, TFC won the Canadian Championship for the second time in a row and earned the Shielders Cup for having the best record in the league.
With them doing well, it just kind of brings like the community together. Whenever you're there for the games, they have a huge fan section that just kind of urges the fans to get more involved.
You definitely feel that energy when you're there at a live game amongst the community that's watching. Personally, I don't know, it's a great feeling for me. I enjoy that.
Third-year business student Dario Dulik says fans will follow the team when their key players perform well.
We have a really nice front line. So the two strikers, Sebastian Giovinco, number 10, and Josie Altidore, we need them to step up a lot, provide us a lot of goals, because that's our focal point of our team.
A goal from either striker could secure TFC's ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals, and Ryerson fans want to see them go all the way.
First place would be incredible. I mean, I think that's always the goal. But even to just keep up a winning streak, even if that doesn't result in first place, just to make it as far as possible, and to have a lot of goals scored. I mean, Giovinco seems to be born to score goals, so it's always exciting to watch him play.
Giovinco will be key to Toronto's success. Now, if they beat the Red Bulls on Sunday, they advance to the Eastern Conference Finals, bringing them one step closer to the MLS Cup. I'm Brenda Molina-Navidad for RyersonianTV.
Ryerson's annual Fall Festival was on Tuesday. Students joined in on the Gould Street activities to paint a pumpkin or decorate a mason jar. Kevin Kim with RU Student Life was handing out caramel apples. He said despite the cold, he loved the event.
It's very good just to even help out just students just needing a bit of extra free time, especially with all the midterms and assignments going on. It's just a good way just to relax and help out students. So what the fall festival that we're having right now is we're having candy apples. We're also giving out free hot chocolate, and there's also free pizza from Boston Pizza, so that's always good.
Life programs and the RSU hosted the Fall Festival, aiming to engage students and give them a break during the last stretch of the semester. On the TTC, Season 2 of the popular Netflix series Stranger Things was released last Friday. As early as last Wednesday, TTC riders were surprised to see ads for Hawkins Power and Light. Hawkins is the name of the town in Stranger Things.
I think posters like that wouldn't really make a lot of sense until you'd already seen the end of Season 2 or you just rewatched Season 1. I mean, I haven't taken the subway yet, but I probably would have missed it if I had.
So there's a lot of competition for our attention. What Netflix has done is made us curious and interested. It's very consistent with the way they've handled themselves from the beginning. Before they used to just say, we're Netflix and you want us because we're the best of the kind and we're one of the only. Now they have to say, you know us as Netflix and here's all the great, intriguing, amazing content we have in contrast to our competitors.
The ads are mainly noticed by die-hard fans because of how subtle they are. They also feature a working phone number that people can call. H&M launched its latest collaboration with renowned Canadian designer and Ryerson graduate Erdem Moralioglu on Thursday. Monster retailer H&M introduced the release of the Erdem and H&M collection to Toronto at its Yonge Dundas location. Erdem Moralioglu, a graduate from the Ryerson School of Fashion, is the creator of the line. The highly anticipated collection launched worldwide yesterday. Although the line is normally only for women, the Erdem collection features 83 pieces for both women and men. A variety of floral dresses, blouses, jackets, hoodies, and accessories can be found in stores and online. The line's usual prices are upwards of $1,000 at Nordstrom, but the H&M collaboration offers bargain pricing. The collaboration's most intricate pieces were $300, with simpler pieces retailing as low as $40. The collaboration can only be found at the H&M Eaton Centre location in Toronto. The line is limited edition and won't be restocked once it's sold out. What do Ryerson and bank robbers have in common? Our very own Josh Cupid will tell you in this week's Long Story Short. Check it out.
Long story short, what could Ryerson do better? Don't answer that, it's rhetorical. What Ryerson needs is a bank robbery program. As it stands, Ryerson forces aspiring bank robbers to take totally inappropriate degrees that don't prepare them at all for the realities of armed bank robbery. Take Steve Vogelsang. He graduated from Ryerson, and after messing around as a journalist and a prof for a while, he was finally arrested on 2 counts of bank robbery. Camera footage of the crime shows a sad, doughy man armed only with a handwritten note. So where are Canada's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid? Where's our John Dillinger? Where are the fedoras and the Tommy guns? We've got only 17 notable armed bank robbers to America's nearly 200, and one of them is named Kevin. Really, Canada? Kevin's the best we've got? Ryerson needs to raise the bar. The job market sucks, and it's time Ryerson gave Canada's bank robbers the tools to live up to their American counterparts. For RyersonianTV, I'm Josh Cupid.
And that's our show. For more news, visit ryersonian.ca and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Ryersonian. We will leave you today with some therapeutic live drawing. Enjoy.